The following statements is true. Both plant cells and animal cells have cytoplasm. Explanation: only plant cells have chloroplasts, which contain the green pigment called chlorophyll, needed by plants to carry out photosynthesis. Another cell structure that can only be found in plant cells is the cell wall. The cell wall ensures that the cell has a regular shape. Since animal cells do not have cell walls, they do not have a regular shape. All cells contain cytoplasm, in which the cell structures and substances move. In which of the following can chlorophyll be found? Plant cell. Explanation: chlorophyll can be found in chloroplast, which is found only in plant cells. The cell wall is made up of cellulose. Explanation: cell walls are tough and fibrous and are made up of cellulose, a strong material that is fully permeable. An animal cell will burst when excess water enters it because it does not have a cell wall. Explanation: the animal cell bursts when excess water enters it because it has no cell wall. The cell membrane is fragile and unable to hold excess water without bursting. This is unlike the plant cell, which is able to hold a maximum amount of water without bursting because it has cell wall. Which of the following cell structures stores all genetic information that is passed on from one generation to the next? Nucleus. Explanation: all genetic information that is passed on from one generation to the next is found in the nucleus. Vacuoles store food for the cell. Chloroplasts contain the green pigment chlorophyll, which traps light energy from the sun to allow plants to make their own food. Cellulose makes up the cell wall in plant cells. A partially permeable membrane allows only some substances to move in and out of the cell. Explanation: partially permeable means the membrane only allows the movement of some substances in and out of the cell. Not all substances can pass through a partially permeable membrane. Which of the following best describes the cell membrane? It is partially permeable. Explanation: cellulose is only found in the cell wall of a plant cell. Only the cell wall can give a cell definite shape. The cell membrane cannot give a cell a definite shape as it is too soft, flexible, and fragile. The cell membrane is not porous. It is a partially permeable membrane that controls the substances that move in and out of the cell. Label the parts of the plant cell in the diagram below. B. Which of the labeled parts of the plant cell is responsible for storing food, water, and waste? Vacuole. A cell sample was taken from an organism. Below is a list of cell structures that were discovered after observing the sample under a microscope. Suggest the type of cell from which the sample was taken. Plant cell. B. Which of the cell structures functions like a filter, allowing only certain substances to enter and leave the cell? Cell membrane. A cell reproduces by splitting itself into two. The diagram below shows cells going through this process. A. Name the above process. Cell division/binary fission. B. How many cells will there be in the fifth generation? 16 cells. The diagram below shows a leaf after it has been tested for starch using iodine solution. Iodine remains brown in the absence of starch and turns blue-black in the presence of starch. Starch is a type of sugar produced by plants from photosynthesis. The diagrams show two cells, A and B, taken from the leaf above and studied under a microscope. Which of the cells was taken from the part of the leaf that remained brown? Cell B. B. Explain your answer in A. Cell B does not contain any chloroplasts, so it cannot make food for the plant. Therefore, there would not be any starch found in cell B, and so the iodine solution tested on it would remain brown. C. State the function of the chloroplast. It contains chlorophyll, which traps light energy from the sun to enable the plant to carry out photosynthesis. The diagrams below show three different kinds of cells, W, X, and Y. The following statements are true about the cells. B. Cell Y is able to photosynthesize in the presence of light, carbon dioxide, and water. D. Cell X is able to undergo cell division. Explanation: cells W and Y have a cell wall, so both are plant cells. Cell Y contains chloroplasts, so it is not a root cell, as root cells do not photosynthesize. All cells with a nucleus, such as cell X, can undergo cell division. The diagram below shows an elephant. The following statements are true. The elephant is made up of billions of cells. D. The cells in the elephant contain genetic information from its parents. Explanation: an animal cell does not have a cell wall. There are many kinds of cells in an elephant, and each kind of cells is of a different size and shape. Ginny filled a whisking tubing with 50% of starch and 50% of water. She was told that starch could not pass through the whisking tubing, but water could. The whisking tubing was not fully filled at the beginning of the experiment. She then immersed the whisking tubing in a container of water, as shown below. After a day, she observed that the whisking tubing was firm and fully filled. She concluded that water entered the whisking tubing. Which one of the following correctly shows the percentage of starch and water in the whisking tubing after 1 day? 2. Starch, less than 50%. Water, more than 50%. Explanation: water entered the whisking tubing, which caused it to be fully filled and firm. Hence, the percentage of water in the whisking tubing would increase, and the percentage of starch would decrease. Based on the results, in question 3, which part of the cell shown below best represents the whisking tubing? A. Explanation is the cell membrane. It controls the type of substances entering and leaving the cell. Study the diagram below. What kind of cells are they? Leaf cells. Explanation: the cells are plant cells because they have a cell wall. They also contain chloroplasts, which are found in leaf cells. A specimen of a living tissue fixed onto a glass slide appears as a small dot to the naked eye. Peter uses a microscope to view the specimen. The diagram below shows the microscope. Peter tries to view the specimen through the eyepiece of the microscope. However, all he sees is a clear image of the small dot. He cannot see the cells of the small dot. What is the first step he should carry out? Use an objective lens of a higher power. Explanation: Peter can see the specimen of the living tissue, the small dot, but he cannot see the individual cells that make up the tissue. Therefore, the first step he should do is to use an objective lens of a higher power to magnify the cells. Study the diagram below. What is the function of X? It controls the substances going in and out of the cell. Explanation: X is the cell membrane. The cell wall gives the cell its shape. The nucleus controls all the activities that happen inside the cell. The cytoplasm allows substances to move about within the cell. A gene is a unit that contains the information of a characteristic that is passed on from the parents to their young. A scientist transferred the glow gene from a glowworm cell into cell B. The glow gene enables the tail of a glowworm to light up in the dark. After the gene transfer, cell B would be able to photosynthesize in the presence of light, water, and carbon dioxide. B. Glow in the dark. C. Produce sugar and oxygen during photosynthesis. D. Maintain a regular shape. Explanation: Cell B is a plant cell. It is able to photosynthesize in the presence of light, water, and carbon dioxide to produce sugar and oxygen. Its cell wall helps it maintain its shape. With the addition of the glow gene, it will be able to glow in the dark. The diagram below shows a specimen that was examined under a microscope. Which one of the following correctly identifies X and Y? X. Guard cell. Y. Stoma. Explanation: Y is a stoma, or an opening that can usually be found on the underside of leaves. X is one of the two guard cells, which opens to allow the leaf to exchange gases with its surroundings. Study the diagram below. The following correctly identifies A, B, and C. Two. Explanation: a red blood cell does not have a nucleus. White blood cells defend the body against infection and kill bacteria. The diagrams below show what happens when a white blood cell detects a bacterium. The following can be observed from the diagrams above. A white blood cell has a nucleus. A white blood cell is able to change its shape. A white blood cell surrounds a bacterium before killing it. Explanation: there is no diagram of a red blood cell, so a comparison between a red blood cell and a white blood cell cannot be made. Jack says, this is a part of a cell that contains chlorophyll. It absorbs light energy from the sun for the plant to make food during photosynthesis. Which part of the cell is Jack referring to? Chloroplast. Explanation: chloroplasts are structures that contain chlorophyll, the green pigment that captures sunlight to make food for the plant. A researcher plans to modify the cells of a white mouse by adding the genes of a glowworm so that the white mouse would be able to glow in the dark. Which part of the cell shown above will be modified? X. Explanation: the nucleus contains the genetic information of a cell. Which of the following takes place when cells grow old? A. The old cells die. B. New cells are produced to replace dead cells. Explanation: the method by which cells multiply is called cell division. Old and new cells do not merge. Cells increase in number by cell division. In one type of cell division, one cell divides to form two daughter cells of almost equal size. Roche read that bacterial cell Y undergoes this type of cell division. He studied a bacterial cell Y under a microscope and saw it divide, as shown below. Based on the diagram above, plot the points on the graph to show the number of bacterial cells Y obtained for the next 4 divisions. Roche wanted to find out how the surrounding temperature affects the division of bacterial cell Y. He prepared 3 setups, A, B and C, and put them at different places with different surrounding temperatures, as shown below. After half an hour, he counted the number of bacterial cells Y in each setup under a microscope and recorded the results in a table as shown below. B. Based on the results shown above, what is the best temperature for bacterial cell Y to divide? Explain your answer. 36.9 degrees Celsius. The greatest number of bacterial cells Y obtained after half an hour was at 36.9 degrees Celsius. So, bacterial cells Y divided the fastest at that temperature. C. Where do you think bacterial cell Y lives in? Explain your answer. A human body. The temperature of a human body is 36.9 degrees Celsius. The diagram below shows a sperm cell. It carries the genetic information of a male parent. Mark Y on the diagram above to show where the genetic information is stored. B. State the function of part Z. It helps the sperm cell to move towards an egg cell. The diagram below shows a human egg cell. Does the human egg cell have a nucleus? Explain your answer. Yes. A human egg cell will form a baby when it is fertilized, so it should have a nucleus that contains the information that is passed on from the parent to the young. The diagrams below show a plant cell, an animal cell and a red blood cell. Which one of the cells does not have a nucleus? Red blood cell. B. Which system in our body contains the cell in A. Human circulatory system. C. What other cells does the cell in A travel with? White blood cells. Look at the diagram below. State the functions of parts A, B, C, D and E. E. It supports and gives the cell its shape. B. It captures sunlight to make food for the plant. C. It controls all the activities in the cell and contains genetic information. D. It controls the movement of substances in and out of the cell. It contains many cell parts and allows substances to move within the cell. The diagram below shows two plants of the same kind. Plant A has been watered daily, but plant B has not been watered for 5 days. A cell is taken from each plant and examined under a microscope. E. Identify which plants the cells are from. Cell P, plant A. B. Explain your answers in A. Cell question plant B. Cell P is from plant A, which has been watered daily. The cell is full and firm. Cell Q is from plant B, which has not been watered for 5 days. The cell membrane has shrunk away from the cell wall. An animal cell and a plant cell, shown below, are both soaked in pure water. After a day, the animal cell bursts, while the plant cell swells and becomes more firm. What is the reason for the difference in the observation? The plant cell has a cell wall, which helps the cell maintain its shape. It also prevents the plant cell from bursting when too much water enters the cell. The animal cell does not have a cell wall, thus it bursts as it swells in size. The process where cells divide to produce new cells is known as cell division. New cells are produced to replace old and damaged cells and enable living things to grow. The following statements correctly describe cells. A cell is a living thing and can reproduce. Why do our cells have to undergo cell division? To replace cells that die. B. To help repair damaged parts of our bodies. D. To increase the number of cells to form tissues. The graph shows Miss Lim's height from birth till she was 50 years old. Explain the reason for the increase of Miss Lim's height. The increase in Miss Lim's height is due to the increase in the number of cells. B. Name the process in A. Cell division. C. Miss Lim claimed that cell division in her body stopped when she reached 21 years old. Do you agree with her? Explain your answer. No. The cells still undergo cell division, but only to replace the old and damaged cells. The diagrams show an animal cell and a plant cell. Identify the similarities and differences between the two cells. Similarity: a plant cell and an animal cell both have nucleus, cytoplasm, vacuole and a cell membrane. Difference: a plant cell has cell wall and chloroplast, but an animal cell does not. Which of the following correctly identify the respective parts of the cell? Tree. M. Cell membrane. N. Nucleus. O. Cytoplasm. P. Vacuole. The table below shows the freezing point and boiling point of substance A. Which one of the following statements is correct about the tree cells? They all have cytoplasm and cell membrane. For students, make the following statements after observing cells A and B as shown. Which students made the correct statements about cells A and B? Cindy only. Both cells have a nucleus. The diagram below shows two cells, A and B. State one similarity and one difference between cell A and cell B. Similarity: both cells have a nucleus, a cytoplasm, a cell membrane. Difference: cell A has a cell wall or chloroplasts, but cell B does not. Both the leg and the heart have muscle cells. For students, make the following statements about the similarities of the cells that make up the heart muscles and the leg muscles. They both have cell membrane. They both have a nucleus. All cells have different shapes and sizes because they perform different functions. Animal cells do not have cell walls. Brenda saw a cell sample under the microscope. She made a drawing of the cells as shown. Did Brenda see plant or animal cells? Give a reason for your answer. Animal cells. They do not have cell walls. During one of the science lessons, Emily's teacher gave her a cell to study under a microscope. She drew out the cell that she observed as shown in the picture. She was unable to identify the cell as she realized that a part of the cell was missing. A. Name the part of the cell that was missing. Cell wall. B. Other than the part that was missing, what other observation of the cell could help Emily to confirm the type of cell that she was observing? Presence of chloroplasts/central vacuole. Cheryl gently scraped her inner cheek with a toothpick and prepared a microscope slide to view her cheek cells. Draw a human cheek cell as seen under a microscope, labeling all the main parts. Gerald was given a plant cell and an animal cell. He placed the two cells on separate glass slides. He then added liquid S and observed the cells using a microscope. The table shows his observations on the shape of the cells before and after liquid S was added. Based on Gerald's observations, state which cell is the plant cell and which cell is the animal cell. Cell A, plant cell. Cell B, animal cell. Based on Gerald's observations, state which cell is the plant cell and which cell is the animal cell. Cell A, plant cell. Cell B, animal cell. B. Explain your answer in A. The plant cell, unlike an animal cell, is regularly shaped because it has a cell wall to keep its shape. C. Which cell part of cell B enables the cell to become bigger after adding liquid S? Cell membrane allows water to enter the cell, making it bigger. Cell wall is present in plant cells only. It is made of cellulose. It supports the plant cell and gives it a regular shape. Cell membrane is partially permeable. It separates the cell from its external environment and controls the movement of substances in and out of the cell. Cells A and B are obtained from the leaves of the plants. Which cell is obtained from a wilting plant? Explain your answer. Cell B. Due to the lack of water, the vacuole of the cell shriveled up and caused the cell to lose its turgidity. B. Which part allows substances to move around inside the cell? Cytoplasm. The vacuole maintains the turgidity of the plant, allowing it to support the structure of stems, leaves, and flowers so that the plant can stand upright. The cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance that mainly contains water and dissolved nutrients. It is the main site of cellular activities and it allows substances to move around inside. Betty's farm produces apples that are easily destroyed by pests. A scientist introduces genetic engineering to her and promises her that this will yield crops that are resistant to pests. Which parts of the cell are most likely to undergo the changes in order for the apple tree to become more resistant to pests? Explain your answer. Part D. The nucleus contains the genetic information of the cell. The nucleus controls all the activities in the cell. It contains the genetic information that is passed from one generation to the next. Look at the diagram below. Which part of cell X has the same function as the skeleton? Part C. The picture shows a panda. Which of the following statements are true? The panda is made up of many cells. C. The cells in the panda contain genetic information from its parents. A scientist wanted to create a new breed of plant, Q, with flowers that will glow in the dark. She took some glowing genes from organism P and implanted the glowing genes into plant Q. The diagram below shows the cells taken from organism P and plant Q. Which part of the cells will the scientist use in order to achieve her aim? One. Part B from organism P, Part Y from plant Q. Ryan set up an experiment to study the movement of substances. He placed a plastic bag containing starch powder, which is white in color, into a beaker of iodine solution, shown in the diagram below. The following two observations were made at the end of the experiment. A blue-black color was seen in the plastic bag containing the starch powder. The iodine solution remained yellowish-brown. Which part of a plant cell has the same function as the plastic bag? Part D. The diagram below shows a cell with particles A and B. Gary observed the cell after some time and noticed some changes to the cell. What observations can you make from the diagram below? Only particle B can enter the cell. B. What characteristics of the cell allows the observation to be possible? The cell membrane, being partially permeable, only allows some particles to enter the cell. Some cells allow water, but not substance Y, to move in and out of them. In the diagram above, label the part that stops substance Y from entering the cell. B. When some of these cells were placed in water, the cells burst. Why did the cells burst? Too much water has entered the cells, causing them to swell and burst. C. Madeline dissolved substance M in water. She then placed some of these cells in the solution. She noticed that the cells shriveled. Explain why. Water moved out from the cells, causing them to shrivel. Which part of a plant cell shares the same function as that of the insect parts? E. Controls insects' function. B. External supporting structure. C. Exchange gases with the surrounding. A. Nucleus. B. Cell wall. C. Cell membrane. Study the table. Which of the cells is/are animal cell? Explain your answer. Cell Y and Z. They have no cell wall. B. Which of the cells cannot reproduce? Give a reason for your answer. Only cell Z. It does not have a nucleus. C. Felicia said that only cell X and Y can control movement of substances in and out of themselves. Is she correct? Explain your answer. No. All three cells have cell membrane. Thus, they can control movement of substances in and out of the cells. Both Mei Ling and her mother have curly hair. Which part of the human cell contains the information that determines the type of hair Mei Ling has? Explain your answer. It is the nucleus, as it contains genetic information that can be passed down from one generation to the next. Thus, Mei Ling is able to have curly hair like her mother. Louise found a single cellular organism in the school pond. She wanted to do an investigation using the organism. She cut the cell at line X shown. After a few days, she recorded her observations in the table below. Why was Part able to replace Part B? Part contains the nucleus, so it can repair/replace the damaged part. B. Explain why Part B of the cell is important for her investigation. It is to compare and confirm that the presence of nucleus in part is the only variable that is needed for the cell to repair the damaged part. The diagram below shows a cell with its labeled parts, X and Y. Which one of the following states the correct functions of these labeled parts? Tree. X. Nucleus. Controls activities within the cell. Y. Cell wall. Controls the movement of materials. The diagram below shows cells X, Y, and Z. Based on the above diagrams, state one similarity among cells X and L. Do not mention size or shape. They have a nucleus, a cell membrane, a cytoplasm. B. Which cell X, Y, or Z can be found in the roots of a typical plant? Give a reason for your answer. Cell Z. Cell Z does not have chloroplast with chlorophyll to trap sunlight for photosynthesis, but it has a cell wall. Kai-In observed 3 cells, A, B, and C, under the microscope and recorded her observations in the table below. Based on her observations, What is a possible function that cells A and C can perform, but not cell B? Cell A and C can pass on genetic information to the next generation, but not cell B. Cell A and C can control the activities in the cell, but not cell B. B. Which of the above cells are likely to be an animal cell? Give a reason for your answer. Cell B and C. They do not have cell walls, which only plant cells have. C. Other than having a cell membrane, cells A, B and C have another common cell part that is not stated in the table. Name this part and describe its function. Cytoplasm. It is a jelly-like substance where cell activities take place. Alice cut off a small part of a leaf from plant B before examining it under the microscope. She drew the parts of a leaf cell as shown below, but she had forgotten to label some parts. Label the parts of the leaf cell shown below. Alice also cut off a root from plant B before examining it under the microscope. She discovered that a cell part was present in the leaf cell but missing in the root cell. What could be the cell part that was present in the leaf cell but missing in the root cell? Why is this part important to the plant? Chloroplast. Chloroplast contains chlorophyll, which helps to trap sunlight to make food. The diagram shows a cell with labeled parts A, B and C. Which of the following correctly describes the functions of the labeled parts? Tree. Part A, cell wall, gives the cell its shape. Part B, cell membrane, controls movement of substances in and out of cell. Part C, chloroplast, traps light for photosynthesis. The chloroplast contains chlorophyll, a green pigment that traps light to help the plant make food during photosynthesis. The diagrams show two different types of cells, X and Y. Name and state the function of parts T and H. Part T, nucleus. It controls all activities in the cell. Part H, chloroplast. It contains chlorophyll, which traps light for the plant to photosynthesize. B. Which cell, X or Y, is most likely to be from a leaf of a hydrilla plant? Explain why. Cell X. It has a cell wall and chloroplasts. The diagram shows a single-cell organism which lives in pond water. Z contains a substance which traps light energy. Is this organism likely to be a plant or animal cell? Give a reason for your answer. Me and state the function of parts T and H. Plant cell. The organism has cell wall, which can only be found in plant cell. B. Predict what would eventually happen to this single-cell organism if part Z was removed from the cell. Give a reason for your answer. The organism will die / will not survive. Without Z, the organism cannot trap light to make food through photosynthesis. A biologist discovered a single-celled organism X. He observed organism X under microscope and found out that organism X has both the characteristics of a plant cell and an animal cell. State the observation that suggests that organism X is a plant cell, 2. Animal cell. A. Organism X has chloroplasts. 2. Organism X does not have a cell wall. B. The biologist concluded that organism X does not feed on other organisms to survive. Do you agree with him? Explain your answer. Yes. Organism X has chloroplasts that contain chlorophyll to trap sunlight and make food through photosynthesis. The diagram shows an onion with its parts labeled. The following cells, S and T, are taken from these parts of the onion. Identify the difference between the two cells. Do not compare the size. Cell T, unlike cell S, has chloroplast. B. From which part of the onion plant was cell S and cell T obtained from? Cell S, root. Cell T, shoot. 2. Explain your answer in part B. Unlike the shoots that are above the ground, the roots are underground and do not have chloroplast to absorb light for photosynthesis. Chloroplasts are not found in a plant cell that is taken from a part of the plant that does not need to carry out photosynthesis. The diagram below shows a plant and a cell taken from it. Which parts of the plant, A, B or C, is the cell most likely to be taken from? B and C only. Some cells were obtained from an organism and studied under a microscope. The parts of each cell are listed below. Nucleus. Cell membrane. Which of the following were the cells most likely obtained from? Leaf of a rose plant.
Study the cell carefully. The following statements about the cell are true. The cell is taken from a leaf. B. Part 10 enables the cell to make food. The diagram below shows a cell belonging to animal R. Which of the parts identified above can also be found in the root cell of a plant? J, K, and L only. 4 different cells were observed under a microscope. The observations were recorded in the table. The following statements are correct. Cell H cannot reproduce. C. Cells E and F are plant cells. The table shows the parts of cells Q, R, and S. Based on the information given, the following deductions are correct. B. S is able to produce its own food. C. R and S cannot be from the same organism. Chloroplast is not found in the cells of a potato. What are the features of an onion cell? It contains a cell wall, which only plant cells have, but no chloroplast, as it does not make food. The diagrams below show 2 cells J and H that belong to the same organism. Based on the diagrams given, which part of the cell determines that both cells belong to the same organism? The cell wall. B. What is X? Root hair. C. Explain how the shape of root cell enable it to carry out its function more effectively. A root hair cell is elongated to increase the exposed surface area so that it can absorb water and mineral salts from the soil quickly. The flowchart shows some characteristics of cells. Based on the flowchart, can cell C make its own food? Explain your answer. Yes, it can. Cell C has chloroplasts that contain chlorophyll to trap sunlight, to photosynthesize and make food for itself. B. Based on the flowchart, which cell, A, B or C, is a skin cell from a monkey? Give a reason for your answer. Cell A cell does not have a cell wall. A skin cell from a monkey is an animal cell and does not have a cell wall. C. Which part of the plant can cell B be found? The roots/flowers/fruits. Jonas was asked to identify the cells on 3 prepared glass slides. He recorded what he observed in the table below. A tick, V, indicates the presence of the cell part in the cells. A. Based on his observations, what could cells A, B and C be? Root cell, C. Leaf cell, B. Chick cell, A. B. Cell B does not contain chloroplasts. Explain why. Cell B does not need to carry out photosynthesis. Hence, it does not have chloroplasts to trap light and make food for the plant.
The diagram below shows a typical plant cell and a human skeleton. Name the part of the plant cell which has a similar function to the human skeleton. Cell wall. B. Explain your answer in A. The cell wall and human skeleton keeps the organisms in a regular shape.